What is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another episode of the Kingdom Says podcast. I am your host, as always, Garrett Williams, and I am joined by my two usual co-hosts today. On my left, we've got Arrowhead Tom. Tom, how are we doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, and I just want to share that I really had a strong desire as you were, I knew you were about to intro, just to start screaming. And you ever have those intrusive thoughts? I just thought, I wonder what Garrett would do if I just started screaming over his intro. I didn't. That would have been
a good time. That would have been a
very good time. But I wanted to share that I thought about it. And maybe if enough people comment and say that they want that to happen, I will do it as a surprise.
I'll tell you, you gotta handle some adversity sometimes in situations like that. I think
sometimes you do. But yeah, just food for thought for anybody who may in the future want to see that. Leave some comments, put it in the review. Maybe we'll make it happen.
Hell yeah. Also joining us on the bottom of the screen, Mr. Kyle Henning. Kyle, how are we doing today, good sir?
Today's trash, and this week's been pretty crap. So, not a good day for Chiefs Kingdom. Not a good day for content coverage across the NFL and in Chiefs Kingdom for sure. I have a lot of things to say. I won't say them here. It's not worth the time, but yeah, it's not a good day, and it's been not a good week. So ready to talk Chiefs football and maybe hopefully have at least a little bit better of a day, because right now I'm pissed off and I'm not happy. And
big day. Yeah. Has been a loaded day, especially like I said, Chiefs content creation. Very sad. That being said, we are all gathered here today to talk about the Chiefs' first preseason game of the 2023 NFL season. Of course,
anybody get hurt?
Every single thing.
Anybody get hurt?
Well, Jody?
No. Any major contributors get hurt during the game?
I don't think so. I think everybody was pretty okay.
Sure. Yeah. Good preseason game.
Okay, So we're not the bottom 32 defense. We're not the worst ranked defense. Patrick Mahomes isn't washed up.
Figgity flying fuck. Pardon my language about the bottom 32 defense in the preseason. I could care less. The guy they built the defense around isn't even there yet. So, no.
And they're not. If you watched, which I didn't get to see so full disclosure, I didn't. In Kansas City, we had a storm blow through, and I did not get to see the whole game and mess with the channel reception and all that stuff. But those were the most vanilla. Steve Spagnuolo was not in his bag. He was chilling.
The offense could have literally drawn that up on a napkin in a bar the night before and been good to go with the play.
Probably would have worked. Yeah,
probably.
It was. Hey, do you know how to beat cover two? Yeah. Okay, you could do this. Yeah,
let's try it.
We're just gonna cover two. There wasn't a single blitz, at least not in the first half.
There's a little bit, but yeah.
Spag blitzed in the second half, but he's testing guys. He's blitzing.
Sack off a blitz, but that's about it.
He's testing blitz packages. He's testing guys. He's seeing what guys have on the second, third, and fourth string. But on the first two strings, he really didn't give a shit.
No.
They didn't even try.
No.
Yeah. Yep. Well, nothing.
There's no game plan for preseason game one. They're not unless they're putting stuff on tape for Detroit to look at, they don't care.
And they're
definitely also,
they're not doing that because Detroit's
definitely just like kind of a glorified training camp practice, if you will. I mean,
it's so they can hit somebody besides their teammates. That's this is for.
We've seen a lot around the NFL too, like a lot of teams recently and past couple years who have been doing joint practices with teams.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Chiefs haven't been doing that, but this is kind of like their joint practice.
That's on purpose.
They have an organized, controlled game. It's not chaos.
They have real officials that people actually get fined if they do stupid shit.
Yeah, and you actually get live reps of people without having to have joint practices, which are always just end up.
Which leads to a brawl after brawl after brawl after brawl, which is
a good way. I think that
watch training camp fight videos.
A good way that the Chiefs kind of approach the thing, not having the joint practice. Obviously, that's been a thing for a while with Andy Reid, but
you won't see him in Kansas City while he's here.
Yeah,
you won't.
No, but this is a good substitute to really.
It's just negative press waiting to happen.
Yeah,
it's all fights.
It's
go scroll. Cam Akers and Max Crosby got in a fist fight today, and I got Cam Akers on my timeline telling me how he beat up Max Crosby while I got photos of 5 dudes around Max Crosby with one Max Crosby.
Yeah.
The Ravens and whoever. The Cowboys are fighting each other.
Aaron Donald almost killed a guy with his helmet.
Yeah, the Cowboys are fighting each other. Michael Parsons punched his backup, one of his linemen 3 times in the head.
That being said, the Chiefs' first preseason game. went about as good as you can have it for it not meaning anything,
They did fine.
We got down
Except
early
for whatever
17, like 14, 17, nothing, and then made the classic comeback all the way to the end, and then
whatever that was.
Had some classic Chiefs early mid 2000s moment at the end there, and then you walk off the field with some happiness and some.
I'm always surprised. I don't. Has anybody confirmed that Chris Olokudu, whatever the Olodokun, did he get to come back? Is he still in New Orleans? I'm not sure. They didn't. Has it? Everybody's checked. See, he's at training camp.
That was tough. That picture.
That was tough. That was a tough
thing. Doing this. I mean, that'll be.
They hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. Except Drew Tranquil was laughing hysterically on the sideline portion of that program.
That was me. That would be my reaction to it all.
Good.
Just hilarious laugh.
Look, y'all. The preseason is the preseason, especially the first game. We've already they don't do anything, and they don't run a full game plan. And Patrick plays 2 minutes, and
one drive,
it is what it is. We're not going to learn too much from these games.
What the Ravens tell you, the wins don't matter at all.
Not at all. You know what the Ravens won last year with all their preseason victories? Nothing. And the year before that, nothing. And the year before that, nothing.
It's a good time. But, obviously, in a real game, we would have just ran the ball out there. But you get, Chris, the young guy, a one more 2-minute drive to see how he reacts. And it really is a freak play by the D lineman. That was pretty.
He threw an interception on a screen pass. Can't happen.
That's tough. Bye. I mean, that is tough. That guy had a long arm, though. What do you want him to do? I mean, that's a very big
cannot happen.
Very big guy. Yeah.
That is some situation. Matt Castle, Tyler Thigpen, Brody Croyle bullshit.
Whoa. We do not disrespect Tyler Thigpen on this podcast.
Sorry, I used the wrong Tyler. I meant Palco.
Okay. Yeah, that's the one.
But, I hope he enjoys coaching whatever high school team he's coaching next year, this year in football. He's not.
Coach. Yeah.
Look, man. Maybe a practice squad. Maybe he's not playing in the league.
No,
he's not passing Shane Buechele. He's not passing Blaine Gabbert, so he's not playing on this team.
Mm-hmm. Probably not playing on most other teams too. But I mean, good camp.
I hope he got his reps. But if you're going to put reps on tape, that cannot be one of them. If you want a job in this league, you can't do it. It's not
guys. There was a lot of guys that didn't
but you can't do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that didn't have as poor of showings this game. A couple guys got off to a really good early start. The receivers, that was obviously the biggest thing that a lot of people wanted to look at is the receivers. Sky Moore got some run. Richie James got some good catches, had some good moments in there. Obviously, Justin Ross, the child of the Chiefs preseason this year, he had 2 catches, incredible Hall of Fame. Give him his jacket right now, obviously.
Yep. You can go ahead.
It was a solid little look for the receivers. So who kind of stuck out to you guys in the receiver category, you think?
I tweeted it out. I think for me the biggest thing was just knowing that this is a kid that was looking at his football career possibly being over, likely being over. Went undrafted after being a guy who was thought to be, for all intents and purposes, was supposed to be the next big thing. Just the work he's done to come back from everything he's faced. Hats off to him. So I don't know if any of them. I mean, I think Richie James showed that he's probably going to be a guy who
he showed some juice.
Yeah, he's got some juice there, and I think he's a guy who's probably going to be pretty big down the stretch. And if there's injuries or just a guy that they kind of have specific plays for, specific roles. Just running back by committee, it almost feels like they're gonna do receiver by committee, and they really do have a lot of different flavors, and I think Andy Reid is gonna use that, to his advantage. So I liked what I saw to Rashee Rice. I think, like I said, there's just a lot of reasons to be excited for a couple of these young guys. So. I did like Rashee Rice, but I think for me the best moment of the day was Justin Ross getting that touchdown, just because of what it meant, I think, to him as a person.
That was a cool moment. Yeah, that
was an excellent moment, and you could tell how much it meant to him on his face when it happened. So that was really cool. I think the guy for me that kind of showed the most was Rashee Rice, mostly because he started off with a focus drop that we've seen from receivers in this offense 1,000 times. And the last ones that have had those issues, once they have one of those, drop 2 or 3 or 4 more right afterwards. He didn't do that. So that's an improvement. That's a good thing to see from him, is his ability to go, hey, really should watch the ball all the way into my hands and not forget to catch it. I should probably do that, and was able to correct that statement and move forward. I have to say this to our fan base. If y'all don't get the hell over Justin Watson being on this roster, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. I'm sorry. I can't take it anymore. He's on the roster. He's not going anywhere. He's going to play a lot of snaps for this offense, and they're going to use him a ton. You can scream and clamor and all this for all the other rookie wide receivers that aren't going to see 2 snaps in this offense. I'm sorry. He's on this roster. Nico's going to have an unfortunate hamstring injury in about 3 days that's going to sideline him for the rest of the season.
Already did.
No.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's done. He has a shoulder problem.
Yeah,
injury over.
Nico Remigio, come on down. You are
welcome to long-term IR, Jody Fortson Jr.
Great job, man.
Matt Bushman. Insert about 18 other guys that they've done this to. Yeah,
Justin Ross, Pringle, Jody Fortson,
Cornell Powell.
Cornell Powell hasn't made a team yet.
No, they put him down and kept him off, and I think one of the ways they did one of the times was by putting him down as injured. I think his rookie year he was an injury, wasn't he? Didn't he get injury designated his rookie year?
I think he just got cut.
Several years he did.
I think he might have just got cut. But
I don't know if it was all the
Yeah, regardless, this is the classic.
They do this all the time.
Mystery IR stashy guy, and hey, I mean Nico Remigio, which is the proper pronunciation.
He's looked great.
Nico,
he ain't making this roster.
Yeah,
there's too many bodies, and they have too many things they need.
Maybe next year, though. Listen,
I guess let me rephrase that.
Stacked this year.
Let me rephrase that. He's probably not making this roster unless they have something like Kadarius and another receiver end up to where they have to put them elsewhere for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever it is with medical stuff. Then he might. But that depends on this, because didn't he say dislocated shoulder in the press conference?
Yeah, but
didn't Jody Fortson just have surgery on a dislocated shoulder?
No, I think Fortson's was a little bit more severe. But I think that Rico's also looking at surgery, is what I think I read that today.
That would be bad for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, it would be unfortunate, but
at least he's a rookie. He's not making this roster right now. They've got 9 wide receivers. We haven't even talked about 2 of them.
Yeah. I mean, it just benefits him. It really benefits him because he gets to stay in the
Raise your hand if you knew Amir Smith-Marset was still in camp.
Oh, I did. He's bro's returner. Bro's return guy.
Has anybody talked about Amir Smith-Marset other than to mention that I think he got banged up a little bit the other day?
I've seen him in some pictures. He's been standing next to
not even been mentioned.
Yeah,
like there are so many wide receivers in this locker room right now that they don't know what to do with them all. They have too many. They have the top 3 figured out. MBS, Sky, Justin Watson until Tony is back. And I know y'all don't want to hear it, but that's the 3.
Justin Watson.
They showed you with the snap count in the preseason. He got 6 snaps, and all of them were with the first team.
Boom. Makes it. Go ahead, Tom.
I was just saying, I think that there's something to be said about, regardless of the skill set that Justin Watson has, like you look at the construction of the locker room right now, the top guys, the guys that people want on the team, right? Justin Ross, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, Rashee Rice. Those are the guys that we get excited about. Those are all young players, right? Those are all inexperienced players. And I want to take us back to the AFC Championship game when everybody was hurt and everybody was falling apart. You know, it was MVS. It was that veteran guy. And there's value in that, right? I'm not saying Justin Watson's the best receiver in the world, and he may not even be the most talented receiver like in that room. Definitely isn't in terms of just pure talent. But his veteran, his knowledge, his reliability, that's going to factor into that decision. And the fact that you want to have somebody there who could teach these guys, you know, again, Justin Watson has cut his teeth in this league. And I'm not saying this to be like, oh, I'm the biggest Justin Watson fan. I'm not. I don't.
Get the jersey.
Sure.
Get in the jersey.
But it's not Madden, right? And there's real life components here that you have to consider. And if everything falls apart, you want somebody who knows what they're doing.
I mean, who else are you gonna have blocked on screens? You need a blocker on screens,
And also, as like a fourth or fifth guy, you could do a lot worse than Justin Watson. For the record,
you can't.
Tom Brady had
liked
no
him a
problem
lot.
throwing footballs to him.
He has special teams value. That's always a big plus.
He's not even going to play that much special teams, to be honest.
No, but maybe. Yeah.
No, he's not. That's why their young guys are there.
I get it, but you're going to end up like so. You stash a couple guys and you figure it out. But I'm not. In the immediate term, I'm not panicking about Justin being on this roster over,
Who are you worried about him making the roster over? Because if it's Nico Remigio, I'm sorry, but no.
Remigio.
It's just Rico. We're just call him Rico, right?
No, his name's Nico.
Nico? I thought it was Rico. Never mind. No, it's Nico Remigio. Yeah,
he tweeted out Nico Remigio. It's Puerto Rican. It's not Italian, so you have to say it with the H sound instead of the G.
Listen, I dated a Puerto Rican.
I'm Italian. I'll say it Italian. He'll be fine.
He's Puerto Rican, though. That's what I'm saying.
That's fine. I'm Italian, so I'm going to pronounce it like an Italian, so it'll be okay.
Anyways, the Chiefs have a good problem here with their receivers. And honestly,
it is what it is.
Also, with Jody Fortson going on IR, they have a potential to even carry 7. So that's.
Are they going to carry? No, well, they have a potential to carry 8 now.
I don't know if they can 8, but at 7, 7's a possibility.
I agree, but they had 7 possibility even with 4 tight ends because they got rid of the fullback.
People were saying 4 tight ends.
Now, you have 3 tight ends that you're sure of, and 10 receivers that you're trying to pick between?
Yeah, probably like 8, 9.
Here's my other question, and here's somebody else that hasn't been talked about at all this camp that's played really well that no one's paid attention to, that I've heard very little from as far as like on the media, but people that are actually watching practice. Matt Bushman.
Yeah.
Guess where he went to school?
BYU. It's a 10-point bump in Andy Reid's world. I would not be surprised if they kept Matt Bushman as the guy to be that H-back, fullback kind of hybrid player.
Now with Jody gone, they have room for it.
I thought that was supposed to be Noah Gray.
No,
very different.
I think
he's not as big.
Really, he's not going to come down to
he played a lot of
Bushman and Bell.
Duke.
And I think Bell, without the effectiveness,
Bell might not make the 53-man roster. Bell might not make it. He might be a.
Y'all is funny as hell. That's hilarious. Holy crap, that's a Twitter take. He'll be on this roster, and I'll put money on it right now if you want.
He might be on the roster.
I'll put money on it right now. He'll be on the 53, and he'll be there 98% of the season.
I think he might be on the roster week 1. I'm saying cut down day. He might be like we talked about last episode, where it's
they don't have to really do that anymore.
You're back.
They don't really need to do that.
On IR.
They've lost. Omenahue suspended, so he doesn't count for the 53.
That's fair.
Jody's gone. He's on IR.
That is true.
Tony, you can move there after.
Yeah.
Who are you cutting him for at this point? Because they don't have anybody to cut for him anymore. Are you going to try and keep an extra lineman?
Kadarius Toney, I think, is the only thing, and then you call him.
But they already have that. They have that room already if they want it.
I mean, yeah, but then you can keep like an extra defensive back or something, or you can keep Cornell Powell. Boom.
No.
Why? Why would you keep a guy who literally no one is going to sign? Cornell
Just throwing
Powell.
out ideas,
over Blake Bell, who has been sought after by other teams, including Dallas.
He was with the Cowboys.
He played with the Cowboys, for Christ's sake.
I don't think he was going to go. Well, I guess he did go back, huh? I mean, we saw the Belldozer sneak not work in the preseason. That mystique might be over.
They went the wrong way. And Andy is the first person that said that after he was like, yeah, we should have called that to go the other way when we saw them lined up over the other side of the ball.
It was a weird play.
Also, do you know who was the defensive tackle that read that play and ate it?
I think I might
some
not.
Guy named Kalen Sanders.
That'll make him happy.
Yeah. Also,
Sir Bink, Colin Saunders, old friend alert. Literally blew that play up.
That sick highlight of Jordan Foote mocking him and then dancing on his grave, basically. Yeah. That's crazy.
Oh, Jordan.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting cut down day, I think, for sure.
I don't think it's going to be
moving on from the receivers, I think, because it's pretty we've seen it as much as we can see kind of from them. It's
you don't have to worry about 4 running backs now. You're going to get Deneric on there as a 5th. You're going to try and slide him through the cracks.
5th running back.
You're going to need 5, right? You got to have 5 to be able to keep all these running backs in there.
5 running backs. Wow, that'd be crazy.
Or 4, sorry. They're going to have to keep all 4. They've got 4. 4 straight.
Yeah. Unless you want.
Well, you're not getting rid of Clyde. They featured him on every single one snap they could.
See, I don't know. That kind of seemed like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire trade package audition tape.
Go ahead. Tell me who's offering and what.
I don't know. I haven't thought about it to this
the
exact.
Colts won't even pay Jonathan Taylor. The Jets just signed Dalvin Cook, and the Patriots just signed Ezekiel Elliott.
Franchise like the Bears or something, or like the Pelicans. They're not NBA
we'll see.
They're not NFL team. But
I'll be surprised if Clyde's not on this roster to start the season. So
maybe the Saints. Yeah, it's a.
Nope, they just went and got Jamal Williams, and Kamara only got 3 games for stomping a dude out, while Omenihu got 6.
He did only get 3 games. LaMichael Pirine, though, another running back to consider.
That's why I said 5, but Tom acted like he didn't exist. So
if you want to keep 5, that's the 5th guy right there.
Not worried. I mean, not to say that he's not a solid ball player, but
no, yeah, probably practice squad guy. Despite all that, all right. What other position groups really stuck out to you guys this preseason game?
The D-line is a dumpster fire without Chris Jones.
That is kind of, that is a tough one, huh? I mean, obviously not having the center D-line right there and Chris Jones is tough, but even in those late hours, I mean, Danny Shelton, shout out him. He was moving. He was jumping over piles.
That was one of the funniest things I've seen in a while was his swan dive, dolphin dive of 390 pounds or whatever.
Didn't have him have juice.
Can you imagine how terrifying that would be to have that much human flying in the air at you? I don't care what team you're on. His team, other team, that looks terrifying.
Yeah.
But no, generally speaking, FAU was good. George looked fine. Dana looked fine. The pieces looked fine. But the problem is you don't have the piece.
You don't have
the centerpiece.
Yeah, you don't have the wrecking ball himself in that middle.
And that first drive, if they don't figure out how to stop the run, they're going to have a lot of problems this year.
If they're going to let quarterbacks have that much time in the pocket, yeah, it's going to be a tough
And I know we talked about vanilla, and I know we talked about boring, but basic run defense is about as boring and vanilla as it gets, and they struggled.
Yeah, because I mean, I think Keandre Coburn's still kind of getting into that NFL groove. Obviously, the first game for him, he's kind of the replacement for Colin Saunders of what you kind of need as a other run-stuffing defensive tackle outside of Derek Nottie, who's, kind of meh anyways. So you still here?
Yeah, he's here. Derek didn't have his best year last year. I'm hoping he rebounds because he was a little banged up, I think, pre-entering. The last year before that was still kind of banged up last year. I'm hoping he rebounds. It's contract year for him, without a doubt. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, last year too.
Chris is playing this year, so it doesn't really matter for this year, but you get a pretty good look at what that defense looks like next year without him. And I don't like it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to draft a guy if that's the case, because we don't have that talent anywhere else in the interior D line. I mean,
Tom, what did you see out of FAU? Because I was intermittently concerned/impressed /concerned/impressed, and it's gonna kind of feel like it's kind of be that way with him this year.
My thing froze for a minute, but I was just going to say, speaking of the 2024 NFL draft has a lot of good defensive tackle prospects. That's all.
Jenkins. Boom.
That's fine, but they're also prospects and not Chris Jones in his prime. So, from FAU's standpoint, is he going to be this much of a roller coaster all freaking season?
Yes.
Because he flashes, and then he vanishes. And then he flashes, and then he vanishes. It's like a really bad or good magician, depending on what you're looking at. He's a lot of special effects, and then he's gone. And then he's back. And then he's gone. And then he's special effects. And then he's gone.
Special effects.
I am certain that he is going to be like that. And I think that it's going to be tough early on in the season because with Omenihu and some other things, like they're one injury away from him having to play a lot more than he should have to play. And I think it's going to be something to watch because it's going to be It's going to be a tough one. So we'll see. But I expect him to have a similar progression to what George had last year. Start slow, finish strong. That's what you want to see. If you could have a similar year, and like I think people underrate how strong of a finish George had last year. Part of it makes me think that that's maybe why they were comfortable not pushing to bring back Frank as much as as much as maybe they could have. Although I think they should have, especially again hindsight and the suspension, all that. But just overall, I think that there's a lot of confidence in George, and it makes sense because the dude is still 21 now.
He's a child. He's a little. He's so young.
He is.
Not only in terms of age, but also in terms of football mileage, because the dude played water polo till he was like 16.
He is 22. He turned 22.
He joined the Tom Holly School of Pass Rush. So I mean, come on. And
he turned 22 in April. Yeah. So, and I think that we'll see some positive things out of him. But again, we're gonna need some.
So with that in mind, and your conversations about Frank,
it's the first preseason game, though. I mean, we can't overreact too hard to all this. We've seen one game's worth of reps, but definitely just some things. There's some hints, that there might be some deeper seated issues unless they kind of turn around. Which I think, from reports that I heard about, the training camp practice the next day, Joe Cullen was not very happy. So take that with what you will. I think the boys really heard it, and hopefully we'll be better next game, which of course is versus somebody. I can't tell you who we're playing.
My question is, what's the percentage on King Dunlap or on Dunlap, Carlos Dunlap being on this roster by the start of the season?
The problem with Carlos Dunlap is,
or by mid-season,
what number does he wear?
Whatever number he wants.
Do not care.
There's not many numbers available left. I mean, you can wear 55, or you can wear 0.
He's a vet, and there's a bunch of babies in that entire defensive locker room. He can walk in and go, I want that one.
Well, Justin Ross took 8, so that's kind of the thing. I think he's going to hold on to that one. 0 would be sick. That'd be sick.
Let him wear,
yeah. Basically the same thing as 8. Or he could wear 55, or he could wear like 39.
Also, the reason that you cannot remember who they're playing in this game is because they shouldn't play a single player that they care about in this game.
That is true. This should be
in Arizona.
Yeah, this should be fourth. I don't think Sodfather is in charge of this field like he was.
Doesn't matter. He wasn't in charge of the field week 1 last year when Harrison Butker lost his ankle and Trent McDuffie got hurt for 6 weeks.
Did happen.
That field is trash. Look at it last week when they played the Broncos.
Looks nice in person.
It was trash.
I saw it in person. Looks like a nice looking field. It's very good.
It's garbage.
Not very good. Yeah, not very good quality.
Yeah.
At least you don't have the Sodfather working on it. But yeah, it's tough. It's a tough
Dunlap.
field. Definitely should be fourth stringers. Definitely should be no Mahomes.
Just keep them far away from that field, please.
Yeah, don't even let them out there for warm-ups. Screw it.
They don't even need to put. Legitimately, I would not put a starter out there with pads on.
Sign a random backup quarterback and make him go in there.
They got Olodokun. Knock yourself out, buddy.
Yeah.
It's like
you want to put that on tape? There you go.
Maybe just sign like Chris Strevler or something, or like sign Phillip Rivers and just have him be in a Chiefs jersey so we can get pictures of that.
He was supposed to play us in the Super Bowl if the Niners were going to beat the Eagles.
That would have been hilarious.
Yeah, that would have been a good idea, Kyle.
I mean, not a bad idea compared to Josh Johnson, but yeah, that would have been hilarious.
You have 2 weeks to learn this offense and play the team that's beat you like a drum for the last 6 years. Have fun.
That knows how to beat you very consistently. Yeah, there was
Dunlap, Tom.
Dunlap. That's what we're talking about.
He's about the only veteran option out there right now that isn't a pile of crap. So,
we missed out on the big free agent signing of August at the defensive end spot because of USFL sack leader Breland Speaks got signed by somebody. That's a big. Wait,
he was leading the USFL in sacks.
He was the USFL sack leader last year. Yeah, which I think Ian Rapoport or Adam Schefter tweeted out the XFL. So they don't even know. what league he played.
Did they
for
even
this
know
year.
what league he was in? Jesus
No,
Christ.
I think he had like 6.5 sacks. Like good for Buddy. You know?
So, like I said, Dunlap, chances, percentage-wise.
I'm going to feel cheap saying 50-50, but I feel like it's that.
Non-zero. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I mean, what?
You got a lot of faith in Malik Herring and Josh Kane, though, Tom?
No.
Dogs.
I don't.
Dogs. Come on.
Been waiting on Josh Kane for 3 years now, and I haven't seen a drop. So
I didn't like Josh Kando when they picked him. They should have went with his teammate, although he hasn't done much better.
they at least took the toolsy guy. The other dude was a non-toolsy technique guy who didn't do squat either. So at least Kando has tools. He looks pretty when he moves. He's big and athletic.
He's a big guy.
Small hands.
Small hands. Massive athlete. Crazy athlete.
I mean, it makes sense.
He's already said he wants to do it. He's already said he'd be willing to sign with the Chiefs. He said that a month and a half ago.
Yeah, I didn't see that. So, yeah, I mean, if it makes sense, he's probably, the veteran special. He's like, all right, it's hot in St. Joe. I don't want to go before I have to.
That was a big thing.
So,
it was hot.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense, but he's still, I mean, I think we saw last year he's not a full-time guy, right? Like he's
something to help that locker room out and those young guys out and subsidize maybe some of you having to rush FAU on the field.
Yeah.
Those are fair points. I'll tell you this much. I have confidence that our guys will figure it out.
Maybe.
Potentially.
Or they won't, and it's going to be a nightmare until they can get a Minihue and get Chris Jones
You might see a lot of blitzes.
They're going to realize that they really do need
Tranquil, L'Jarius Sneed coming around blitzing every other play.
Then this goes to my other question, and the biggest, I think, the thing to pay attention to during training camp with this defense is if they're going to have this many holes on that front end, how many times do we see them with only 3 linemen on the field this year? Because I have a feeling it's going to be a lot more than last year.
It's possible.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
They've been, this was reported, this was stated, they've been running 3-3-5 more, which is interesting to me, depending on who that second set of 3 is.
I was going to say, throw Drew Tranquil in there or Leo
they've been running Chanel with it a lot in camp from the description I've been getting.
He and Willie have been rushing passer a little bit, I think.
Yeah. Let him rush.
For pass rush. I mean, Leo.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That would
be a good time.
But it's not, I don't think I think you could do it as a you're not going to do that the whole time. Like that's not.
It's not base defense.
That's not your base. Yeah, that is not base.
It makes some sense, but at the same time, I mean, I agree with your thought that there needs to be another body. I don't know if it'll be Dunlap. It makes sense.
They got to do something.
Yeah,
granted, they can't do shit until Chris does something because they don't have any cap space. Yeah. But
just remember, this is the time of the year where a lot of rosters get turned over, and there might be a veteran guy who ends up on the streets that people
signs for cookies
don't expect to be available. So
that is true.
Yeah, this is the time of year. So with that in mind, looking around the league at some of these other camps, I mean, I watched most of the first preseason. Yeah, finding those is harder and harder and harder to do because teams are getting to the point now with these older guys where it seems like they squeeze every drop out of them, and then they're just done.
Yeah, it's
hell. We had a receiver retire the 3rd day of camp as a vet. So
he took one look around and went.
He said, "No,
I ain't doing the same for me."
It's 111. See y'all.
Yeah,
I'll see you guys later.
With the D line room, obviously, we saw last year with the cornerbacks how they kind of relied a lot on the young guys, and it eventually kind of just worked out. They kind of have that similar situation now that they're lacking in some older vets.
Was the guy screaming at me about the kid from the Jets accurate, or should I not worry about that too much?
Tim Ward?
the one with the highest pass win rate in the league, but he only has like 12 snaps to his name from the last 3 seasons. I don't know. Some dude they drafted 3 years ago that he was all upset about. Like, this is my problem with these guys. Where do you find a off the street or cut veteran, cut player that doesn't look like Breland Speaks?
I mean, yeah, you're not going to really find any at this point, I think, unless you make some kind of trade. But I don't know. I think the Chiefs will learn to adapt with what they have. And once you get Charles back, 6 weeks in or whatever it is, I think he'll look a little bit improved. And I think they'll kind of just have to figure it out. And it might be rough at the start, but that's what growing pains are for. That's what someone said, really, Steve Spagnuolo doesn't even try until like October, Yeah,
Brett Coleman said it. I said it. Several people said it.
You won't
see a real defense from Spags till Halloween or later. I don't know why we do this every year.
It's going to be.
The fan base is ready to fire him by week 7, and by week 12, they don't ever want to see him leave.
He's the savior of the defense, and we're going to the Super Bowl again. So I mean, just long term thing. A lot of overreactions here in this week 1.
Tom, it was Bryce Huff.
Bryce Huff, of course. Not to be confused with Bryce Hall.
Bryce Huff weighs like 220 pounds.
I was told we should trade and go get him because he leads the league in pressure rate.
Might be a dog. I'm just saying.
I take it back. He's 200. Bryce Huff. What is
6'3", 255. Went to Memphis.
Before we get out of here, before we close this out, is there any other position groups we want to talk about?
This DB room's a circus. I don't know what they're going to do. They've got, 12 guys? They've got 11 with Nazee's injury, but
they are. I remember when the Chiefs.
They're all 10 years old. Every single one of these DBs is 9 years old, minus Justin Reed. But every single one of them belongs, for the most part, on a roster. Like, even the rookies this year that they drafted that were DBs, I'm like,
Nick Jones out there. We saw, I forget the guy's name who got an interception. Khalif.
Yeah.
Yep.
They've got a little bit of a.
They've got a logjam in that DB room where they've got 11, 12 guys that should probably be on an NFL roster.
I don't know. Yeah, they've got some guys in there, and it's definitely, especially with the comments that we've been hearing from Steve Spagnuolo.
Not the only one everybody's mad at still is DiCaprio, from what I can tell.
DiCaprio Boodle has been a glorious camp body. It's going to be
getting bodied in camp.
Yeah, he has been getting bodied. It's going to be interesting to see how, like you said, the DB room shakes out, and really who's even the top of the DB room is kind of uncertain because we have, Trent McDuffie as CB1. He's going to be on the outside. Keep him on the outside. Use him on the outside. You have Snead playing in the slot, and then
do we?
Huh?
Do we have Snead playing in the slot?
That's a great question. Do we?
He's got Juju knee, from what I understand.
Right. He is still.
Let's not speculate too much on that. Let's
wait a minute. Now, I was told last year he was dealing with knee swelling all the way through the season. Now he's dealing with it through camp, all the way through the camp this year, and hasn't even practiced. What does that sound like, Tom?
I mean, it sounds like a similar situation, but we'll see how it plays out.
Which sucks, because I would have really liked to pay him, but I don't know that you can with those kind of concerns and that many guys behind him, which is going to leave this fan base in a real weird spot next year when they got to lose him for nothing but a comp pick.
Yeah, it's just interesting behind him, though, because, you have Josh Williams and Jalen Watson, who they had a good end to the year last year, but then early reports were having some struggles early on in this kind of both battling for that second corner spot.
This is where it gets nasty.
Connor as well.
This is where it gets nasty, flat out, and it's tough for this fan base. It's going to be tough for this fan base, especially this fan base, because they do this thing where we latch on to guys, especially near the bottom of the roster, and we never want to let go of them ever, 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 no matter what. But there's going to be some decisions that get made on this roster where some guys just get told, go get paid elsewhere. Hope you enjoyed your rings and your time here. Bye. And that's going to happen. to some players that people really, really, really like.
I mean,
but aren't worth
that aren't
worth what they're going to get from other teams.
Bunch of guys like that, yeah. I mean, that's just the nature of having a winning organization like this. There's a lot of turnover at some of those spots.
So in that DB room, my concern with L'Jarius is his knee and staying consistently healthy and staying on that field. Because as soon as that knee became a thing, it's never gone away. It's not left. Once it started, it hasn't stopped. And that kind of thing scares you a little. Because knees are tricky. I've popped mine out all on its own on something I've done 10,000 times. And it took 7 months to be able to walk normally again. Just because. Like, knees suck. And if they don't get, and I still randomly can get up out of bed and have it give out on you. Or stand up out of a chair and have it give out on you. Just randomly. So with that kind of a thing, and if it's a consistent tendonitis, arthritis, swelling, damage in that knee, it isn't gonna just go away.
Yeah, so can't speculate too much on it because we don't know the extent of what
it sucks
exactly
that it's even a possible contentionable issue, but it's been a problem all camp, and it was a problem late last year, and I'm not confident that it just goes away at this point because it's not left yet. And usually by now, if it was a little bitty thing, a week or two and it's gone. We're way deep at this point for it to still be a lingering issue.
I don't disagree with the concern there, right? Like, I think that's valid. I will say that obviously none of us have the inside knowledge or the the
other than what they report and what they tell us.
Yeah, or the medical expertise to even make that judgment. So what I will say that I can say confidently, because I've seen some other discussions, and I'm going to say that out loud and not verbally subtweet. So I know I've on Twitter, Lance and I were talking about this, Lance from the Spoken, and so I'm not, this is not me.
He'll be fine.
Not talking out of the side of my mouth here, but Shamari Connor, who I thought had a good first game, and there was Spagnuolo was blitzing him a lot, which was awesome.
A lot.
Connor's my guy this year, and I love him, but he can only do about 2/3 of what L'Jarius Sneed can do. Mm-hmm. Now, Trent McDuffie can be your CB1 if you are confident, the size discrepancies. But you have enough, like you said, we have the embarrassment of riches. It does make sense if they're not confident in his knee that they're not going to try to, reset the market. But when L'Jarius Sneed is healthy and available and all that, right? And there have been, I would not consider him injury. I'd say it's pretty average, right? He's not, he hasn't missed an exceptional amount of games, but he's missed an average amount of games. He's got like an 80 in durability in Madden, right? Not Sammy Watkins, but not
not Travis Kelce either.
Yeah. So I say all that to say, in terms of the skill set, L'Jarius Sneed can do anything that you ask him to do in that secondary, and he, I think, has a skill set that I would put up against just about any other defensive back in the NFL. From an athletic standpoint, from a versatility standpoint, I understand that he's not claimed that way and doesn't get some of the media, but I've told you guys before, I look at a guy like Derwin James, and you tell me what Derwin James can do that L'Jarius Sneed can't. I mean, L'Jarius
6'3".
Yeah, but he's 6 foot, 6'1". He's not a small guy.
No, but he's not 6. That's about it, though. Like he's not he's not Derwin at 6'3". That's about the. And this sucks for me to even be worried about L'Jarius because I thought he was going to be Tyron's replacement when they let Justin Reed walk. Yeah, because they're going to let Justin Reed go eventually here.
Yeah, and that's the one I would be more. Again, I think Shamari Connor is closer to being a Justin Reed replacement than he is a L'Jarius Sneed replacement. If there's a replacement for L'Jarius Sneed, you drafted him last year and McDuffie. And it's not a 1-to-1 replacement because McDuffie can't do all the things.
Is one of the best blitzers from the slot in the league, if not the best slot blitzer in the league.
Well, again, it's not a 1-to-1 replacement for anybody. For anybody to do.
right.
It would be rare to find somebody who can do all the things that L'Jarius can do.
Which is why they drafted him when they did. Where they drafted him from because of his versatility set, which they talked about from the second that they drafted him.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just don't know what they're going to do with this DB room as this season progresses and next year goes, because they've got like 14 young kids and an expiring contract here or there. And they've got some guys they got questions on. Who do you pay? Who do you don't? And who do you keep? Who do you not?
There are going to be a lot of questions.
Yeah, and I think that this year we're going to see who emerges.
It's going to tell a lot.
I think the biggest bummer, and I know he was running at corner, it sounded like early on in camp, but Nazi Johnson.
That was.
If he had developed as a safety, that would have been so great because he has that center field type of speed where you play him deep quarters or deep halves, and
he can go sideline to sideline. He's that fast.
Oh yeah. So hopefully he rests up and they have a good feeling of what he's going to be for them next year. But we'll see. This young secondary has got to take another step this year, and we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, we saw them all take a big step last year. It's going to be a learning curve for them, and a lot of young guys are going to have to step up in these absences. So it's going to be very interesting to see, especially with these last 2 preseason games coming up here. Obviously, we got the Cardinals coming up. Do we play Sunday? Is it another Sunday game?
Yeah, I hope so. They play the Cardinals. I'm probably not going to pay an ounce of attention to it other than to make sure nobody gets killed from the turf.
That's going to be a big thing. Yeah.
It's the 19th, so 19th at 7. What day is that?
That's 3 days from now.
Saturday night. Saturday night at 7.
Saturday night. Okay. Very interesting. So, yeah.
Saturday night, 7 p.m. Arrowhead time.
Okay. Yeah. So, probably, it's whatever. It's going to be a game. I'll tell you what. It will be an officiated NFL game, and we will see Chiefs in Chiefs uniforms playing that game.
We will. Officially licensed.
I think the most interesting thing about that game is going to be how the defense and most importantly the defensive line responds from last week to this week and deals with that dumpster fire of a field. Because apparently the field makes you incapable of pass rushing no matter what game it is, according to everybody I've heard talk about Arizona. So,
because the offensive linemen have magical grass underneath only their
feet. Only good grass is under the O-line's feet.
Yeah. Every step that they take is actually good turf, but the ones that the defensive ends take is bad turf. So sorry about it.
Yeah, it's rough. Yeah. I wanted to ask you guys this before we got too deep into camp, but hell, here we are now because it's been a little while since we've recorded.
Here we are.
How much of a change and how much effect is changing the wide receiver coach going to have?
Well, it's a wide receiver room, so I don't, there's.
Yeah.
You have MVS, Sky, Kadarius, Justin Watson that all worked previously with the last wide receivers coach.
So that was Greg Lewis.
That was Greg Lewis, I believe, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is no longer the Chiefs wide receiver coach, if I understand correctly.
Didn't he move to running back coaching?
Yeah. And
pretty sure.
Who's the current?
Connor Embry is the new wide receivers coach for the Chiefs this year.
Okay. Shout out Connor Embry.
I'll let y'all try to recall where he's from.
Yeah. No, I have no idea. I think we talked about when Greg Lewis moved over. I don't know if they had announced that. I don't remember us talking about Embry. At the end of the day, Matt Nagy, Andy Reid, it all trickles down from them, right? And so
I'm really not worried about that too much.
And we talk about Andy Reid as a guy who we talk about the players.
Depends a lot on his position coaches.
Yeah, well, he does, but he also does a great job of developing position coaches. How many of them have gone on to become head coaches? If Andy trusts them, have at it.
Just curious because old boy was the head coach at Colorado in 2011-12. Ended up at KU as an assistant at some point, I'm fairly certain. Did he play at KU? I don't. This dude.
There you go.
That's not a good thing. Yeah, he was a grad assistant at KU. He didn't play at KU, from what I can find.
The program right there. I'll tell you what.
OC at Blue Valley West, grad assistant from 15 to 16 at KU, wide receivers coach at Fairview High School in 18. He was a defensive assistant with us in 19 and 20, offensive quality control coach in 21 and 22, and now the wide receivers coach.
He's been in the building, so the guys know him at least. He probably knows at least how things roll. He's just good for him.
Promotion. It's just a matter of how much of a difference is it from this guy to Greg Lewis, and
yeah.
I hope he doesn't. I hope it's not a drop off, but when you're switching staffs like this, as part of being a championship team, you've got to factor in how much these position coaches matter. And we just talked about Joe Cullen with the defensive line room and how much he made a difference last year from year before to this year, from year before to last year, and now this year.
Yeah.
What difference does not having him in there make, and having somebody else in there? And how much drop-off does that change over? Especially because I think the running back coach is who they actually lost, and I think he went to Notre Dame at one point, or did, and then ended up somewhere. I don't know. I think it was one of them. I think one of the coaches was going to do some coaching at a different university. Is why we lost.
Yeah.
And had so much shifting.
I'm not, like I said, I don't know. I'm not familiar with the coach, and I'm not sure. And I understand, like, Joe Cullen's been great, but on the offensive side, like, so much of it really does go through.
Oh, he was a running back at KU.
Yeah. So
yeah, the offensive side definitely it's Andy and Matt Nagy. That's kind of the pieces you gotta look at there. I don't know. It might affect something.
Okay.
And
There's the other question.
We won't know till we know.
Right? There's the other question. Bieniemy to Nagy. Bieniemy to Nagy. Do we see any difference? Do we see any changes or any adjustments? Or is it all Andy?
It's been one game, Kyle. It's preseason.
I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about right this freaking second. I asked you. I said I wanted to talk about this before we got too deep into camp, but we're too deep into camp. So for the season, do we see anything different with Matt Nagy from Eric Bieniemy, or is it still the same Andy Reid show?
That's a great question, Kyle. You're great at making these questions. I'll tell you what. I'd say my answer is TBD. TBD. We will definitely see.
Y'all have no feel for what we're going to get from Nags this year. None. Other than he appears to throw the football better than Bieniemy because he was a quarterback.
Some darts. He's still throwing darts. I'll tell you what.
Because he was the whole reason Chicago sucks from everybody that I've talked to, and that's a Bears fan. And Trubisky was
Chicago sucks because they're a cursed franchise offensive.
And they drafted Mitch Trubisky, but anyway.
Yeah,
they did do that.
It'll come down to. We know that Nagy has a good relationship with Mahomes. The biggest thing with Bieniemy, and we see this, going on in Washington now, is that he was willing to push back for better or worse. And I think, yes, I think if Nagy can find the happy medium between the two, right, where he's not as abrasive while also holding accountability and keeping, because Andy is one. The biggest thing that Andy needs out of his coaches on the offensive side is to make sure that he doesn't fall into some of the bad tendencies that he fell into and that he's prone to, specifically abandoning the run too early, the clock mismanagement, all that kind of stuff. And I think what worked so well with Bieniemy is they had a balance, and because Bieniemy was so willing to speak up, they were, it worked out. That said, this is not new territory for Matt Nagy. He, when he got the Chicago job,
he was the Chiefs' offensive coordinator.
Yes, well, Andy Reid said that Matt Nagy was the best assistant coach he'd ever worked with. Now, obviously, since then there's been a lot of talk about Bieniemy and all that stuff, but Andy was singing his praises pretty heavily, even for Andy, who always does the job for his guys. So it's. Yeah. I'm not worried about it. I think that there's going to be accountability continued.
Here's my biggest wonder. You heard Patrick talk about it when he called out the Washington players. Well, nicely called out the Washington players.
I'm sure it wasn't nice.
Oh, it was. He was very diplomatic about it. Patrick could have done what Tyreek or McCole or anybody else did and said, "Stop being soft, you bunch of pansies." And instead, Patrick said, the thing that I liked the most and the thing that I respected the most about Eric was that he was willing to hold you accountable even when you didn't want to hold yourself accountable. Mm-hmm. He was one of the guys in the building that didn't just tell Patrick yes all the time. Because in that building, 99% of the people in it tell Patrick yes to basically whatever he wants.
And that is the only concern I have with Nagy in that situation, because we know that Nagy has a soft spot for Mahomes.
That's my concern. That's been it's not the play design, it's not the play calling, it's not the play putting together and innovation and all the cool fun stuff and all that. It's none of that. Can and will he hold him accountable when even Patrick doesn't want to hold himself accountable, which doesn't happen very often based on who the human being is as himself, but he's human. It does happen. So when it happens, because it happens to all of us, is Nagy able to do that? Because, as Tom mentioned, their first interaction, Patrick was the backup and he was his buddy.
Well, even before that, when the story of,
like Tom was saying, I think it'll just be different. It's not going to be that.
Matt telling him the plays before he goes to see Andy for the test.
Yeah, I think it'll just be a different type of accountability than, like you said, EB. He didn't care how you felt about him. He was just going to tell you it. Matt Nagy might just kind of be more of like
need more of that in society and not less.
Deliver it to him more gently and be kind of on his side instead of being on the opposite side. Which
they need more.
Just two different strategies.
We need people.
We saw Matt Nagy worked pretty well as an offensive coordinator here, obviously, when Alex Smith was here. So
I loved him.
It's just going to be a different approach to the whole thing, I think, and something that we really can't fully grasp the concept of, like the game in and game out stuff until we get a couple of games and see some situations where they're down and they're not performing too well, and then we see how they respond, and we see all the sideline interactions with them. If it might not be like the big shouting matches that they would have with EB. It might just be them sitting on the bench reading the iPad, and just kind of doing it a little bit more of a mellow approach. I also kind of think Patrick might be at a point in his career where he doesn't necessarily need that like very abrasive, voice holding him accountable. He can.
What about the other 40 kids that are on the offensive side of the football?
I don't know. I don't know if you can say that, because I go back to the Jaguars game when he had to get his leg scanned, and is Matt Nagy going to have just being honest, I know Andy could say, hey, you got to go, you're coming out, you got to get the x-rays, but that's one of the toughest jobs as a coach is, can you protect a player from himself?
I mean, that is true. And
when Eric Bieniemy said, you got to go get the x-ray.
He's like, hey, we're going to go have you get x-rayed. Like, I think Nagy did try to tell him, and he tried to fight him on it a little bit. When he told him, I think it was a little more solid. But yeah, it's just it's going to have how you have to develop, It's going to be a different change. Hopefully everyone can learn from that situation, and in the next time that situation occurs, it won't be as abrasive. It won't be as much.
I don't know why everybody is so worried. It's not abrasive. When Eric is honest with you and truthful to you, when you don't want to hear it, it's not abrasive. You just didn't want to hear it. I know that that's hard for people a lot of the time in society, as a whole. Sometimes when somebody tells you something you don't want to hear, that doesn't mean it's abrasive. That just means you didn't want to hear it.
Well, hold on. I was not criticizing. I was saying
I'm not jumping on Garrett, but I hear all the time how Eric Bieniemy is too rough around the edges. He's too much of a hard ass. He's too rude to people. He's stuck in his ways.
Kind of more of a general sweeping term.
He may be stuck in his ways. Yeah. They won and won. Why would you not be stuck in your ways?
Maybe a better word would be affirmative.
Sure. He's extraordinarily firm. He's not going to deviate. And he's also extraordinarily blunt is what you're looking for. People don't like blunt. That's the problem. People don't like blunt, and people don't like too honest. That the players that went running to Ron Rivera that then caused Ron Rivera to grab Eric Bieniemy and chuck him under a bus 5 minutes into him being there.
Yeah.
That's what they don't like. They don't like blunt. They don't like honest.
He's not there to do anything other than get the best out of you. And as Patrick also said in his interview, he's gonna get in you, but he also cares about you and he'll go to war with you just like one of the players will. So that's my difference and concern, and I'll be interested, not even concerned, just interested to see how it looks.
Yeah,
from going
definitely
from Nagy to Bieniemy back to Nagy. So
yeah, I think that will be one of the big things to look forward to as we get to these next preseason games, and obviously Week 1 versus the Lions will be here in about a month or so, a little less than a month, because there's that big break in between the preseason and
about 3 weeks, September 7th, right?
Yeah,
kickoff.
So it's their 11th, maybe the 7th.
It's the 7th. They aren't kicking the NFL season off on that day. I can almost guarantee you that.
Yeah. So with that being said, that is
they try to avoid 9/11 with any of those kind of things.
That is true. Yeah. So that being said, that is stuff to look out for this next couple preseason games. We'll watch some young guys. We'll watch the dynamic of this changing coaching staff, and hopefully see some young guys step up. Hopefully see some units look a little more cohesive, and get us geared up for that Week 1 Lions game. So that being said, everyone, thank you so much for listening and watching this one. Be sure to follow us at Kingdom Says Pod on Facebook, Twitter, /X, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna still call it Twitter.
It's still Twitter. I'm not. Yeah. We're not doing this.
Facebook, X, Instagram,
Threads.
YouTube. Go follow us on there. Like and subscribe. All that good stuff. If you're not listening,
please go like the YouTube channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel, because
that also is going to be
where we're going to put a bunch of stuff for you.
Be on the lookout on our YouTube channel. Probably tomorrow. You'll be seeing this. The day that you see this, the next day, you'll probably see the inaugural episode of Kingdom Recon with our boy Arrowhead Tom here.
We got some new stuff.
Yeah, we're preparing for a lot of cool content this season, and we're excited for you all to join us. So thank you all for listening and watching once again, and we will see you guys in the next episode of the Kingdom Says podcast.